Hey YouTube. Well, today happens to be a lazy Sunday for me, and I just felt like making an update video of my 1998 Volvo S90. I've had this car for a little bit over 2 years now. Holy crap, this is the longest Intech Dude 300 has ever held on to a car. A little over 2 years. And it's been a great car for me. Put over 20,000 miles into it. When I bought this car, I originally intended to just drive it for a few months. Never expected to hold on to it for 2 years. So, I mean, it's been the best cheap car I've ever owned. And it was with this car that I've traveled to the most states in. Hell, I mean, it came from Florida to New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Cleveland, Ohio, back and forth from Cleveland to New York. And it's held up very well in the last 2 years. There's no rust at all on it, even though it's gone through 2 Cleveland winters. Never had any issues with it, even through heavy snowstorms and whatnot. I'm actually surprised at how well it holds itself in the snow. Probably because of the good balance between the front and the back, I don't know. Of course, over the years, I've had to do some stuff to it. I've done some drive shaft work because for the longest time it had an annoying vibration that started around 35 miles an hour and it just dissipated once you got around 80. So, I mean, it was really bad. But I got that sorted out by buying a drive shaft from a 960 that was just like 2 years older than this car. Got that installed and everything was smooth as silk ever since. I've replaced a tie rod, replaced the front control arms, coolant hoses. Up until recently, the torque converter started acting up. That started happening about 2 months ago. Roughly 1,000 or 1,500 miles after it completed 200,000 miles. So ever since the torque converter started acting up, I've garaged the car, because prolonged use with a bum torque converter will eventually screw up the transmission. The transmission itself works beautifully and there's nothing wrong with it itself. It's just a torque converter that needs to be replaced. So it's just a matter of dropping the tranny and bolting on a new torque converter. But I've decided to not fix it. I just don't want to put any more money into such an old car. Probably had I have lived in Florida, where things would have been a little bit more facilitated for me, I probably would have fixed it and held on to the car a little bit longer. But you know, it's just time to move on. This car has served its purpose. I have another car waiting for me. I'm not going to spoil it just yet. It's actually going to surprise some of you. So just stay tuned, because I'll make the big reveal very soon. Now, going back to the torque converter, this car does use a Toyota transmission, specifically an Aisin. I believe an AW30 or AW90. Same transmission the early 90s Lexus LS400 used, Toyota Supra, and a few other rear-wheel drive Toyotas and Lexuses from the early 90s, so it wouldn't be a pricey fix. This Volvo is a very special car for the reason that it was the last rear-wheel drive Volvo. The 1998 Volvo S90 was the last of them. Never again are we ever going to see a rear-wheel drive Volvo. It's just never going to happen. Since '98, Volvo has just resorted to making front-wheel drive / all-wheel drive cars. Believe it or not, the platform isn't that much different from the Volvo 740 from the mid-80s. Of course, for the S90 / 960, it's been stretched, suspension upgrades, and engines, transmissions, and interiors a little bit different. But again, for the most part, everything is the same. And throughout the time that I've owned it, I've been thoroughly surprised at how many compliments I received for this car. I mean, I guess people just miss seeing this body style Volvo, or maybe it's just a fact that they know how special these things are. You just don't see much of them anymore. And when you see one rolling around, it's usually in pretty good shape. People really do preserve what's left of them. This car was also a representation of just how solid Swedish cars were. This car is just a tank. Not to say that current Volvos aren't, but this was just the best example. Just didn't get any more tank-like than this. From opening the door, how many cars nowadays sound like this? Just that clunk. Nothing else out there sounds like that. Now, before I show you the inside, let me just quickly browse through the trunk. Pretty big trunk. I used to have a subwoofer here. There was an amp. You can still see the, the wires, though the car is still pre-wired for an aftermarket amp or stereo system. Spare tire. Everything's still intact. And there were storage pockets in the side. Oh, I've also had to replace the struts. I got them on Rock Auto for like $6 each. This thing was just a guillotine every time I opened it. Now the interior is in great condition. Let me take this towel out of the way because I was just dusting it up a little bit. The car, that is. Yeah, the seats are in great condition. Of course, the suede here is starting to, I don't know what you want to call it, but you can see what's going on there. And it has a little bit of wear here on the side, but that can easily be fixed. Aside from that, the seats are in great condition considering the year and the mileage. I mean, there's cars like this with half the miles and the interior's just destroyed. The headliner isn't sagging, the sunroof works, the wood steering wheel. Now, the die here on the steering wheel has worn off, and it just gets worse as I clean it, so, I mean, that can't be fixed unless you decide to dye it or something. The dashboard isn't cracked, the airbag cover on the passenger side isn't warped. Door panels are soft to the touch, armrest, everything is intact and not broken. The power seats, everything works, 3 settings. The wood just gleams beautifully in the sun. That's one of the things I love about it, but it hurts like a mofo when it's scorching hot, or in the winter, it's like an ice cube. Sunroof controls, rear defogger, also for the mirrors, hazards, power lock button. This is one of the things that always bothered me, is the door locks. I always, even in the 2+ years of owning this car, I always look for the door locks on the door panel, and you just have to go up here to do it. Automatic functions for the climate control. I had an aftermarket sound system in here. I put the stock radio back in. I've had it in storage all this time. Thankfully, I had the security code, and so everything works. The premium sound system, and the sound system actually sounds pretty good. This thing has 8 speakers total. This car's never ever been smoked in. Shit. Sorry, I'll get that later. Little pocket there. Back to the transmission again. It's an E for economy, so basically it'll shift sooner to conserve fuel. I usually left it in sport because this actually prevents the car from kicking down sometimes when you wanted the power. W for winter mode essentially makes the car take off on 2nd or 3rd gear, reduce wheel slippage, e-brake, armrest, cup holders. Look inside, everything looks clean. Now there's also another lid up here. It's basically a magnet latch, and if you let it fold all the way back, now you have cup holders for the rear passengers, and it's kind of like an afterthought, but hey, they're cup holders. Again, look at how beautiful the dash is. No cracks or warps anywhere. The glove compartment, pretty small, it's like a slit in here. The owner's manual is in there too. Another interesting thing is that this was a '98 car, and it already had side impact airbags. Not curtains, but the side airbags here. Aside from the passenger and driver airbag, still one of the safest cars you can get. Look at the back seat. Again, everything looks beautiful here. The leather, great condition. The backrests don't fold, but you have a pass-through. You have to lift that piece of vinyl there, and you'll have the pass-through for the trunk. The pockets for the seats, and this really wasn't the most roomy back seat, but it was comfortable. The cushion is just so plush, and you have these bolsters here. You're really hugged into the seats. Guess this was an ashtray or something, I don't know. Flip cup holder back here, and I guess it does work nicely. I've never sat back here while someone drove. I guess once when I was just so drunk off my ass from a wedding, and I had to have a designated driver drive me back home. Shh, don't tell anyone. Reading lamps up here, they all work. And you can see the headliner is in great condition, not sagging, and it's very plush. It's actually more plush than the carpeting in a Toyota Prius, which feels like that of a patio. This, probably even more plush than the carpeting in some houses. That's just how much padding there is in here, and it's not sagging. The rear deck is in great condition. And the headrests, I don't think they adjust, so they're stationary. And I never quite understood what these things were. It looks like a tweeter, but I don't hear anything out of them, so I guess it's just a cap. Look at the engine, not knocking or ticking. 200,001 miles, and it's still silky smooth. Oh, one of the other things I had to get done was the timing belt. My dad did it for me at 195,000 miles, so it's got a new timing belt. One less thing to worry about. So yeah, that's just about all I wanted to show you. Basically an update of how this car has held up over the years. I do have it up for sale. I'm selling it as is. I mean, I'll take whatever for it. Of course, I do have a minimum. So if there's anybody in the Cleveland area or somebody nearby who is searching for a clean, rust-free Volvo that needs minimal work, let me know. Maybe we can work something out. Again, this car just needs a torque converter and it'll just run forever after that. This thing has the bones for a good project car. Hell, you can shove a V8 into it if you want. There's actually a company that sells the motor mounts for that. You'll really turn this car into a sleeper if you do that. I mean, people even do manual swaps on them. It's actually a very easy process too, but I'm not going to tackle a project like that, or at least I don't have the patience to do it. Do apologize for the slow rollout of videos. I just have zero time to do anything for the moment, and it will be that way for a few months. Hopefully in the future I'll have some time again to review cars for you all. I will be acquiring a replacement ride. It's a German and it has a manual gearbox. That's as much as I'm going to say about it. I will be picking it up next week in Florida and driving it back up here. I will be making a review of that thing as soon as I have it. But anyways, that's all I've got for you all at the moment, so thanks for watching and stay tuned, guys.